is the greatest moment in my life.
Hey, yo.
I'm back and feeling shittier than ever.
Oh, lovely bit of singing to start the week off. Fantastic stuff.
I know, with a sore throat and everything.
Yes.
You lucky people.
I said, didn't I, before we start recording, that you sounded like you had a bit of a poorly throat.
Yeah, it's permanent. It's permanent. When you become a seasoned podcaster like me, you live with it. You have to live with it. Like singers, you've got to go through your training. Like la 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 la. That's what you have to do with podcasters.
Is that what you do before you record? Is it go la 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 la? As flat as that.
And during the podcast.
See, it's funny that you put it down to podcasting. I just put it down to all that willy you suck. You know.
Listen, I won't have any disparagement about me and my big dicks.
Big dicks hitting the back of your throat. The coffee. God's sake, my kids watch this program, Mags. Get your mind.
One of your kids is actually on the live now, so
hi, Charlie.
Behave, sir.
Yes, I was very bad. But we are back. We are back from outer space. That's a song, isn't it? What's that from?
The Prodigy.
No, look upon your face.
Out of space.
Yeah, but that's not I'm back from outer space.
To find another race.
Yeah, I know that.
Remember that from my nightclubbing antics back in today.
I Will Survive, I was thinking of.
This is a wrestling podcast and not a classic disco review podcast.
With that look upon your face, they say, don't they? That's it. I Will Survive. Andy from Bang Bang Podcast, chime in. Cheers, Andy. We can always count on him, can't we, eh?
No. I've heard today he doesn't like cheese, so he's gone down in my estimation.
Oh, mate, my wife don't like cheese.
Well, I'm sorry for your loss, sir.
I say that she'll have like cheese on a pizza or something like that. Or a bit
Andy will scrape the cheese off the pizza.
What?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
How do you do that though? Because the cheese, won't that take everything else off as well?
I don't know. I like cheese, so I would eat the cheese.
Oh yeah. Okay. Well, obviously she's got good taste, Andy, in the chat there. She's married me. Anyway, we are back. Let's start the show how we always do, with our usual fucking bollocks and nonsense. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever and whenever you may be listening or watching from. This is Chain Wrestling Live with Mags and Si, a Radio Techers production. I am Si, and with me, as always, is the Heart Foundation to my outsiders, the Hitman to my short attention span, a podcaster who knows who he is, but doesn't know why he's here. The podfather himself, Lord Mags. How are we doing, my friend?
That may be the most apt description that you've ever given me. I know who I am, but why the fuck do I keep coming back here? Normally I would say I'm doing really well. I'm not now. We've had a pretty rough week in our household. Obviously, you guys will know that we didn't do any show last week. And if you've listened to any of my podcasts, you'll find out that I wasn't on any of them. And that's because we had a death in the family, a very significant one. So we needed the time to kind of like deal with all that. But hopefully we're getting through the back end of it now and coming back to doing one of the things I love. Hopefully it'll be that kind of like therapy, I suppose. Anyway, so yeah, doing better.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear you're doing a bit better, mate. And, you know, as I've said in messages and so on back and forth over the last week or two, you know, our thoughts and sending love and all that sort of stuff to you and Mrs. Mags and the rest of the family as well, bud, all right?
You really don't know how much it was appreciated by all of us. Just knowing that people out there are thinking of us and giving a shit, it meant the world.
Yeah. Ah, good. Okay. Well, it does, you know, it does stand true. You know, you were in our thoughts, and as always, if you ever need anything, you got my number and so on, haven't you? So.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
There we go, mate. There we go. I want to bring up something very quickly, Magsy, that made me genuinely cross today.
Shock. That's not you. You're normally very calm and collected.
But I didn't react. So if anything, I've been quite grown up about it. But
That's even more of a shock. You've not been childish and petulant.
I can tell you about me being a bit childish and petulant yesterday, actually, because I nearly got in a fight. I'll tell you about yesterday first. I went down the local shop to get, we need like cat food, dog food, and whatnot. So I was walking down there, probably, I don't know what it had been, 6:30, 7 o'clock at night. So it was just starting to get a bit dark, you know. And there's this car that I got to go over a big set of traffic lights, a big crossroads to get to the shop. So as I'm waiting for the green man to come on, like, you know, this car swings round, cuts across, you know, various lanes, and effectively one wheel goes up on the corner of the pavement, and he's on his mobile phone. He's driving like this on his mobile phone, and his window's open. And that is the wife will say this in the chat as well, no doubt. This is one of the biggest things I have, you know. This literally burns my piss. This oh my goodness, it drives me mad. So I've got a habit of shouting at them. Mind your words, please, husband. The Bubba is watching. She says, my wife in the chat. Yes, I will. I will bleep.
I've not got a bleep button. Never. I should put a bleep button in.
You say that. Sharon came home from a weekend away this weekend, and she goes, I bought a swear jar, and without even thinking it, not even doing it for the comedy effect, right, that's going to cost me a fucking fortune.
I'm surprised I didn't just get yeeted straight in the bin.
Yeah. Anyway, this guy's gone past. His window's open, and I shout at these people. I yell at these people when they're on the, because to me it's ridiculous. I mean, there was literally a young kid and her mum and dad on the other side of the road playing and stuff. So I shouted, "Get off the phone, you effing arsehole."
Bleep's one word. Totally allows the second
arsehole, one. Arsehole's all right, isn't it? Surely. That's what she said. Yes, father, no naughty words, Charlie says in the chat. I will try my best, Charlie. I will try my best. But yeah, you effing a-hole. I shouted at him, get off your phone. And he pulled his car out, didn't he? But
as if he was going to come out to square off.
Hang on, he does. Hang on, he does. I'm by this stage, I'm crossing the road. I'm going into the shop, and I sort of see at the corner of my eye that he stopped his car. So I go in the shop. I buy the stuff I need. I'm coming out. I got my little carrier bag and whatnot, and I'm ready to go home, right? And this bloke at this point is crossing the road towards me by the shop, and he's shouting. And he had an accent. He's as many people are around my way, of Eastern European descent. And he was, look how diplomatic I put that. Sharon would be proud of me.
They were them foreigners.
Yeah, and basically he's shouting along the lines of, "What did you say? What did you say? Do you want fight me?" Is effectively what he was saying. And he said, "You called me an effing arsehole, and you think I'm an arsehole." And I said, "Well, no, I called you an arsehole. I actually think you're see you next Tuesday." And by this point, the guy who runs the shop, who enjoys the smoke, he's outside the front of the shop with a big old joint on the go, watching this develop on the road, giggling to himself. This guy's gobbed off. I've gobbed off back. And he's basically doing the old-fashioned rolling up of the sleeves and ready to have some fisticuffs kind of action. He's looking incredibly confrontational. And I've gone, I don't know why, and at the time, it made perfect sense. But now looking back, it was one of the most ridiculous things I've ever said in any scenario. I literally turned and said to him, 1 minute, let me just pop my cat food down and I'll deal with this properly. so I'm about to walk over and put my cat food down, turn back around because it looks like this bloke is going to start swinging punches. But as I put the cat food down, I've turned around and he's walking back to his car.
Ah, so it was old talk. What a wimp.
He knew I was serious when I was putting the pet food down, mate.
Wow, what a wimp. So did he leave the scene and then that was the end of it?
Well, I didn't see him again. He got in the car and I did the old screechy wheels, pulling off really fast, macho type effort.
Billy Big Nuts.
Yeah, what a dick. But that was yesterday. That was yesterday when I reacted in a way that perhaps I shouldn't have. Today, I didn't react, and I kind of wish I had.
When the same guy turned up outside your house.
I was waiting in Gloucester bus station, which is always a hive of high-quality individuals. You know, the higher class of society frequent this building.
Of course it is. It's a bus station, obviously.
And I'm waiting for the bus that takes us out towards Stroud, effectively, but it goes right past an alleyway by my house. So even though it's the Stroud bus, there's a little cut through. It means I've got to walk virtually nowhere. It's great. They only do 1 an hour, but it works out fine for me. So I'm waiting for this bus, and there's, shall we say, one of on the audio version, people won't be able to see me do this, but I'm doing air quotes. One of those families, if you know what I mean. You know, the ones that
not
the
Chavs.
ones that, yeah, they are chavs, but they're proper Fergals. You know, they're proper gross, dirty chavs. Do you know what I mean?
I know what you mean. What you're describing there is 90% of Burnley.
Yeah, well, Fergal, like I said to you before, I thought was a Burnley word.
Well, it's not.
Yeah, I know you told me it's not. We spoke about it like ages ago. But my ex-boss was a fella from Burnley, and he used to call people a Fergal if they were scruffy or manky or whatever. And we said we'd never heard this before. And he said, "Oh, people in Burnley say it." So it blew.
He said it one time, probably whilst passing through Burnley.
That's it. So, you know, it blew my mind when you told me, no, I've never heard that before. I was like, but what? But and it's funny because me and my family, because of me working for that bloke for so long, it's just a common word for us. But no one else in Gloucester says it either. It's literally just me, the wife, and the kids.
It's anyway, a trend that you've tried to, a hashtag that you've tried to get off the ground and it's not worked.
Exactly. He's basically this Fergal family. And they're like the typical group that appear on the old Jeremy Kyle show when that used to be going. You know, in their
Shameless, kind of like the Shameless family.
Yeah, they got the sort of real bad meth head sets of teeth going. You know, they're in tracksuits that look like haven't been washed for about 3 months. The sort of family group that all live in one house, and the house number is the same as their collective IQ. Do you know what I mean? It's that kind of level of person. You know, the sort of person that I suppose. I mean, there was a couple, another fella, and a young kid. It's the same sort of family where the bloke has married this lady, and she fills the role of sister and wife in the same person.
Jesus.
It's that kind of vibe, you know. But they're by these sliding doors. Funnily enough, sliding doors that my new company made. I noticed that today, and I proper geeked out about it. But there we go. These sliding doors came open, and a big bumblebee came in. Okay. A big old bumblebee.
This story needs to kind of like weave back in because this makes no sense so far.
Yeah, this big bumblebee comes in, right? I mean, it's a big old size. It's like, you know, size of a 50p or whatever. It's a big old chunky bee, you know, one of the big fat furry ones.
The ones that scientifically should not be able to fly.
Yeah, that's right. And it flies in, and you know, it's just having a little flyby and all that, and it goes a little bit close to this little girl. So the dad just swats it away, and that's fine. You know, he's getting it away for his sire having a stroke.
He is. He's reminiscing.
Yeah, well, from this afternoon, and he swats this bumblebee away, and he catches it with his hand, just to get it away from his little one's face and that, which I fully appreciate. But that was where it should have ended. But where he's bumped the bee, it's knocked onto the ground, and the other one has picked up his push bike and just smashed this bee with his bike, and it was horrible. You know, and they're all stood there.
I think that should be a crime. Killing bees should be a crime.
Yeah, they were all laughing and joking about it, and oh man, they're just disgusting, horrible, Fergal bastards. I hate them.
If it was a wasp, I would have laughed along because fuck
wasps are bastards.
Yeah. Sorry, Charlie. Apologies. But bees, no. I will protect bees till my dying day. They are Fergals.
It was horrible, mate. It was horrible. And they were laughing and joking about it. And oh yeah, we got that one good, didn't we? So,
yeah, we killed a creature 1,000,000 times smaller than us, aren't we?
Yeah.
Big mean.
With a big mountain bike wheel, and you could virtually hear it go like pop or snap. There was a big noise to it.
Sorry, Charlie. Sorry, really sorry.
This is brilliant. We're getting told off in the chat by my youngest daughter here for the benefit of the people listening to the podcast version later in the week. Charlie's messaging us saying language because we've been swearing a little bit. So I am sorry, darling. But to be fair, it's past 9 o'clock, and you know, when the podcast comes out, it does have a little E next to it to say, you know, explicit content.
Explicit,
so.
Yeah.
Mm.
But we also do know that your youngest child is in the chat, so we should be being here. Anyway, what was the point of the story?
That was it.
You just
allowed
him to kill a bee, and you did nothing. That was
inside,
you being an adult.
I was raging. Inside, I was raging But they're the type of people that would like, I don't know, stick a needle in you and stuff, wouldn't they? Because they're that sort of gross. Do you know what I mean? The kid's probably a smack rat. You know, it's like they're all probably addicted to whatever. They're just absolutely disgusting people. You know?
Yeah, they are definitely the kind of people you just don't get into an argument with because they're already idiots, and they'll drag you down to their level, and then they'll beat you with experience.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly. And they obviously just didn't care. And nothing I'm going to say to them is going to change their minds. So.
Wow, you are being outed, bad.
What's she saying there?
I am used to it. Daddy always swears. Well, I know somebody who works in social services, so I'll have a quick word.
Oh dear. Speaking of the chats, then Magsy, shall we have a little look through?
We have, and we've got a packed crowd today. Dan Griffin coming in hard just before we start. This show is going to slap harder than Will Smith at the Oscars. Yeah, let's have a little bit of a chat about that. Have you seen the incident?
Yeah, I've seen like a clip of it. Yeah, I mean,
what did you think about it?
What wasn't his wife shagging about?
Yeah. Well, she wanted this kind of open relationship. He clearly wasn't as into it as her, but he allowed it. Yeah, and they have this podcast called, I think it's called the Red Table Podcast. And they spoke about this kind of relationship, and she's got a boyfriend who's maybe like 20, or she had a boyfriend who's like 20 odd years younger, and Will is clearly uncomfortable about it. So yeah, pretty much. But it was a weird incident because you see Will laughing at the joke.
Yeah, at first,
and then you see
his missus, doesn't he?
And she's like. And that's when he reacts. I get him reacting. Yeah, at the end of the day, if someone's having a dig at your missus for a physical appearance or something that she can't help, you are going to react. Unless you're sad, then you just mumble under your breath and allow it to go on.
No, not at all. I'm not married to a bee. What are you on about?
No, but I can understand his reaction. It's the laughing along and then reacting when you've seen that person's offended about it. It felt a little bit two-faced, kind of, from Will Smith. And then he did his speech afterwards, which felt a bit like playing the victim, almost, I suppose.
I'm not saying... Speech.
Yeah, and this is not me condoning the joke by Chris Rock. I think it was ill-timed, very poor taste. But yeah, it just felt like a bit of handbags at dawn kind of thing for me.
There are people online saying it's a work. Have you seen that?
I mean, I have seen the slow-mo of the slap, and it doesn't make that much contact.
No.
Ric Flair sold better slaps than that.
Well, perhaps he was watching like Scott Hall from our match later on, throwing those really impressive.
Maybe he's listening now, and he's so offended he's going to come round my gaff and give me a slap.
I hope the webcam's on when that happens.
I'll film it. That'll be going up as a TikTok, believe me. So yeah, we've got Dan in the chat.
TikTok now, aren't you? You're all about the TikTok now.
Yeah, I've dumped Twitter now. Twitter's in the rear view.
Oh, mate.
I'm down with the cool kids. I can't help it.
Yeah.
So Sharon's in the chat, and obviously young Charlie. Apologies again, Charlie, for such a horrific opening to this show. Marker, how are you, sir? Andy from Big Bang. We've got Graham from Good Cop Bad Cop saying that he's not sticking around long. He's got to go and watch the highlights of the final round of the Texas State Championship disc golf tournament.
Championship. That's more important than an ordinary. That's more important than an ordinary championship. You got to win a championship to qualify for the championship.
Brilliant. Marcus said the 15 pounds of cat food that you was carrying, you could have used as a weapon.
Maybe, but I don't get paid till Wednesday, so I'm literally buying can by can just to sort of bundle through to the middle of the week.
Fair. So that it wasn't 50, but it was £1 can.
80p, like.
Andy wants to know what a Fergal is, and Sharon is confirming that she does not say the word Fergal.
Okay, a Fergal is a really horrible, scruffy, trampy bastard, basically.
And Charlie confirming that it's because she's a nice parent. You're being outed in this episode, Sar. You are being outed. Scottish Danny's in, confirmed there by Sharon. Hello, Colin McCauley. And Graham threw a joke in the chat from Billix, and it goes off what you were saying about the Fergals. A guy came to me after the show and said, I'd like to introduce my wife and sister, and there was just one woman standing there.
Yeah, is that kind of scenario, yeah.
Sounds about right. He also chastised you for your language at 4 p.m.
It's not 4 p.m. here, though. It's past the watershed here.
I'm used to it, Daddy. Always swears. I think that's the name of the next episode.
Is that right?
Yeah. We're supposed to be effing role models. I mean, one of us is. I wasn't the one swearing. It was this guy.
You swore. You did swear. You dropped an F-bomb in there. I'm very certain.
I might have done. And I might have said wanker a couple of times.
Yeah.
Arguing with stupid people is like playing chess with a pigeon. It'll just shit all over the board and strut around like it's won.
That's really good. That's really good, actually, because it is that sort of situation where these people won't listen to reason and they are that dumb that they just think going, yeah, your mum or something means they've won the argument, you know?
And also, I'm not allowed to make fun of you because that's rude.
Yeah, I don't know if that's directed at me, to be fair. I think that might be somebody else.
Okay. Who?
The
chat make it. I mean, we're doing what we normally do in the chat. They're ignoring us and having a conversation all between themselves. I've literally seen Sar's demeanour change when somebody got nasty to me. He was all calm and collected until they turned in my direction. Then all bets were off. I would love to see Sar go Viking on someone.
There's been a few occasions where there's been a disagreement with whatever, and I like to think I'm sensible enough now just to talk my way through most things. I don't want to get involved in that kind of nonsense, apart from when I'm shouting at cars, obviously. And yeah, the instance that Sharon's mentioning there, yeah, I can remember those, and it was like they turned and spoke to my wife in had a bit of a tone in their voice, and yeah, I don't remember exactly what I did after that because I kind of lost my rag, but yeah, I know what you mean. So. Mm-hmm.
And then he spent 28 days in prison for murder. So yeah, Andy said he's met Fergal Sharkey. I mean, I don't know. Was Fergal Sharkey Fergal, do you reckon?
I don't know who Fergal Sharkey is.
Oh, you do. The one-hit wonder singer.
What did he sing?
I can't even remember the song. It was that terrible. Andy will know.
Andy, what did he sing in the chat, mate?
Yeah, Andy's met him. So, and yeah, we were both swearing, apparently, and also, I'm allowed to make fun of you, and Charlie will laugh.
Brilliant. Thanks for sticking up for me, Charlie.
Sar the Berserker, he actually, can you imagine him just like storming to the ring going, huss, 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 and launching people.
Storm into the corner shop in like big woolly boots and my pants.
Woolly boots held on with brown masking tape as well.
Yeah.
And Sar shouting at cars will be an excellent YouTube vid. And the song is A Good Heart. I remember that now. A good heart these days is hard to find. A good heart.
I don't think I do know that.
You will. I'm not playing it because we'll get copyright claimed, but you do know
again.
Yeah, for the third time now.
I'll play a bit on the audio version. I'll track it down. It might even be playing as we're talking now, mate.
It could well be.
It could well be. If it's not, it's because I've forgotten.
As per.
Yes, exactly, mate. Exactly. Okie doke then. Shall we jump on to Twitter and wherever else and get a little look at our non-wrestling topic this week, Max? Oh no, we got Hall of Lane to look at, haven't we?
Look at this week off, and he just forgets all of the.
Brilliant. I love that jingle.
It's amazing.
Yes, the Hall of Lane, where embarrassing, shoddy, pathetic wrestling gimmicks or moments go to hopefully die and never darken our doors again. Magsy, what you got for us this week, bud?
Okay, so shall we go to, I think we're looking at 2005 for man. So 2005 draft lottery in June, and one of they did kind of the last minute trades before the draft closed, and one of them that was traded was Chavo Guerrero.
Okay.
You know where this is going already, don't you?
Yeah, because I was gonna pick him, but something sort of popped in my head that took me away from it.
So he was part of the original SmackDown 6 that made SmackDown the go-to show, and he was traded to Raw. And when he turned up on Raw, Chavo had a little bit of a gimmick change. He dyed his very dark hair platinum blonde. He came out wearing a green vest, and golf pants and golf shoes. He denounces his Mexican heritage, and he favours the Anglo-American way of life now. He also calls himself Kerwin White. So he's a formerly Mexican white person called Kerwin White who hates Mexicans, calls them basically Fergles.
Those Mexican Fergles.
Those Mexican Fergles. This went down like a lead balloon. He hated every race, colour, creed, apart from white people. Mentions African Americans, Hispanics, Native Americans, Asian Americans. He goes into a feud with Shelton Benjamin. And this, like I said, went down like an absolute lead balloon. He eventually did hire a caddy of his own, one Nick Nemeth, who went on to be a bigger star in the Spirit Squad and did a little bit as Dolph Ziggler. I don't really know if he's done much since. But if there is one kind of shining thing to come out of the very sad and unfortunate passing of Eddie Guerrero, was that it killed this gimmick stone dead, because essentially Chavo went back to being the Chavo Guerrero that we knew from Los Guerreros and being part of that dynasty. And I want to kind of end it with the saying that he would have after every promo. So Chavo as Kerwin White, his closing was, "If it's not Kerwin White, it's not right."
Oh,
yeah, it makes me cringe just to know how on the nose racist this actually was. Yeah, not good at all. So
it's
my first
awful.
pick is Kerwin White.
Yeah. Oh, just shockingly bad, mate. Shockingly bad. You know, it's funny how often WWE, WWF, whatever, would use race to try and get heat. It's just, well, I say it's funny. It's not funny. It's terrible. It's bad how often they revisited it, even in sort of more modern times. You know, it was such a bad gimmick. It was terrible, wasn't it?
Yeah, and Chavo did an interview with Chris Van Vliet about it, and they spoke about his feelings. And it was one of those kind of WWE things where we've got a gimmick for you, but if you don't like it, you essentially sat in catering. So it was this or nothing for him. And he embraced it. He said, I really, this could have been, this. He looked at this as an opportunity. So he lent into getting all the heat he could. He wanted to be the biggest heat magnet on the show, wanted everybody to hate him to the point where he was farting his way backstage to really kind of make the best of this situation. Obviously, it didn't work like that. He was getting booed, but it was more get off our screens kind of boos. And he speaks about how the gimmick was just dropped straight away. But he does also mention that Vince actually approached him about the Raw after Eddie Guerrero's passing, and he said, "Chavo, if you don't want the show to go ahead, we'll cancel the show," which is kind of interesting if you look at how the WWE worked with Owen Hart Over the Edge and how the show had to go on. It's interesting that Vince gave Chavo the say so whether this Raw would go ahead, and And Chavo says Eddie would not have wanted the show to be cancelled. He was an entertainer at heart, and he would have wanted the show to go on. So that was why they did the kind of the show geared towards memorialising Eddie Guerrero. So yeah. Still doesn't make up for a horrific racist gimmick and a horrific golf-based race gimmick as well. Yeah, shocking.
He just looked. I know this is not the worst part of it, in any stretch of the imagination, but when you see a picture of him as Kerwin White as well, which you will be able to on the Chain Wrestling Twitter, all the Hall of Names are put up each week, tagged together, hashtag Hall of Names, so you can go back and just look at pictures of all of them. He just looks like a right knobhead as well, doesn't he?
It's so bad. It's so bad. Yeah, there was never any good going to come from this gimmick whatsoever.
No, definitely not. I don't know if my entrance into the Hall of Fame is as bad, because I don't think it's race based, but at the same time, it is really shit. So it's.
It could be bad. Just racism doesn't necessarily mean the worst. I mean, it is bad in terms of gimmicks. That is.
Yeah, I'm dipping into WCW again, Magsy. I'm dipping into. I'm dipping into WCW 1995 again, Magsy. After chucking the Yeti in the other week, because I'm amazed that I haven't put this in already, especially considering on how often on Nitro Nights Scottish Danny and I slate this dude. And I'm going for this week the man of many gimmicks, but I'm picking this one specific gimmick that we're watching on Nitro Nights at the moment. The man from Yin and Yang, the Zodiac.
Oh, it's so bad.
It's one of the worst things that we're currently watching. I mean, there is a lot of crap that we're sort of plowing through on Nitro Nights. The fact that this is one of the worst things on the show shows how bad it is. Dan Griffin there saying, I didn't know Sign knew anything about WCW. I don't, mate. I just wing it, really. The Zodiac, played by Brutus Beefcake, of former Barber fame.
Booty Man fame.
Oh, yeah. I think we've still got that to come.
The Disciple.
I think we got Booty Man after Zodiac on Nitro Nights, so maybe chucking him in more than one. He may be in there multiple times, mate. He may be a multiple Hall of Lamer. But yeah, this is terrible. Yeah, the Master, as he's referred to, the head of the Dungeon of Doom, presents the Taskmaster, Kevin Sullivan, his son, with this new warrior to help him fight against Hulkamania. And it's basically just Brutus Beefcake with his face painted black and white. And all he can say is yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. And he walks to the ring with his arms out, kind of like Giant Gonzalez-esque, I suppose, when he came down in the Rumble in 93, with his arms up in the air and out like that. That's how the Zodiac would walk around, and he kind of stomps about, going, yes, no, yes, no. And he's described as being from Yin and Yang, and often referred to as he's the man who has walked in dark and walked in light. And it's like, well, I think most people have done that.
Surely everybody in the world has done that.
I don't think it's unique just to this fella. I'm fairly certain. I mean, literally today, I think I've walked in dark and light. It's.
I mean, how do you pitch these as ideas and then the creative team go, bloody hell, that's a good one. We'll make $1 million off that idea.
Oh, mate, it's so bad. And again, just looking at the face paint, the black and white gear, it is shocking in a company that is pretty dire at this point in 1995. This is one of the worst things on the screen, and it is that bad. So yeah, my entrance into the Hall of Fame this week is the Zodiac.
And both picks are getting a hell of a lot of love in the chat. Chavo Guerrero by way of Pete Gas. Whoa. I will not have any Pete Gas besmirchment on this. If I ever veto a pick going into Hall of Fame, the Mean Street Posse will receive that veto. They will never go into the Hall of Fame. They were awesome.
This comment here by Bang Bang Andy as well that's just come in is potentially the greatest comment we have had in the history of chain wrestling chats. Kevin Sullivan was a Fergal. He really was.
Fergal Sullivan.
Fergal Sullivan, yeah, there we go.
Dan saying a man who walked through a park on a sunny day doesn't quite have the same ring to it.
Yeah, I suppose. It's not quite as menacing, is it, really?
Right, let's just mute Dan Griffin whilst we are here. No, they were not. Absolutely, they were not. Pete Gas nearly broke his neck for the business. That you put a bit of respect on that guy's name.
Did he nearly break his neck by being a bit shit though?
I mean, they weren't trained wrestlers. They really weren't. He was legitimately one of Shane McMahon's friends. I think Joey Abs, the big guy, he was a trainee potential wrestler. But the other two, Pete Gas and Rodney, Rodney I think was the other one.
Yeah, definitely Rodney, because I nearly used Rodney in my link for today. Funnily enough, I was going to use Yokozuna, who won the '93 Rumble, whose real name is Rodney, and I started looking at wrestlers whose real name's Rodney, and it took me to the Mean Street Posse. How weird's that?
That's not weird at all.
Well, it is a bit, isn't it, that we're talking about him again now? We haven't mentioned.
I mean, there's a coincidence there, isn't there?
We've done like over a year's worth of shows, pushing 70 episodes. I don't think we've spoke about the Mean Street Posse once, and now we're talking about them twice in the same show.
That's a coincidence.
Oh, fuck off,
Sars, I wish he did come back this week now. I enjoyed that week off.
We could have just set the thing up and just played a bit of music, and you and me could just clear off and let everyone just chat amongst themselves.
Right, so essentially, I'll get back to the Pete Gas story. Thank you. So essentially, in one of the Rumbles, I think it's maybe the 2000 Royal Rumble. The Mean Street Posse hit the ring to defend Shane. Pete Gas goes to slide in the ring, misjudges the rope. Rope essentially just neck goes straight into his face and into his neck. He gets into the ring clearly like dazed, turns around, massive clothesline by Bradshaw, and then catches his head on the rope again on the way out. So that guy nearly died for everyone's entertainment.
Yeah, okay, I suppose.
And he also did show Shane how to punch.
Yes, I like the sweater vests, mate. The knitted vests, they were cool.
Yeah,
no, they weren't. They weren't.
Careful.
Anyway, we need to crack on, mate, because we're 40 minutes in nearly, and we've still not got to Twitter yet. So,
well, let's get to Twitter. I told you we should have got to Twitter earlier, but you wanted to do the ridiculous Hall of Flame.
I want to talk about the Bumblebee as well.
Yeah, that story that needed to happen.
Yeah, it did. Show you how grown up I am. Anyway, our non-wrestling topic this week was school days, and literally anything and everything that applies to being at school, whether you had a fave teacher or a teacher you hated, punishments you received, bunking off from lessons, crushes you had, sports day stories, anything at all, literally school days linked. And we had quite a few responses again, Maxie, didn't we?
We did. I mean, I've not read them this time.
Nor have I.
So
nor have I. I've literally had some come in the 10 minutes before we went on air. I've just screenshotted them and not even read them. So I could be reading out anything here. This could be what gets us cancelled. We'll have to wait and see.
I think this may be one of a very long list of reasons why we end up getting cancelled. But let's get into it.
Yeah, let's. I'm going to read them out in the order they came into us. There are a couple via DM and a couple via WhatsApp that I will.
Matt Willis.
Actually, Matt hasn't sent anything in this week.
Oh, what a letdown! Andy said he'd be in the chat today as well. 2 for 2, Matt.
Well, you messaged me to say he's not in the chat.
No, he's not in the chat.
No.
But he said he would be.
Oh, right. No, he messaged me to say he's not going to be in the chat.
Well, yeah, because he told me that he would. So if he messaged me saying that, I would have chastised him.
Okay. Anyway, we start with @MortyJR5 on Twitter.
Great guy.
Yes,
well,
definitely.
Actually, no. I've found out things about Morty that has turned my stomach. He looks very much like the Beast from The Chase.
Okay. Is that what turned your stomach? Is that the extent of the horror?
No, I mean, I don't want to give away too much, but essentially a few of us were included in a Biscuits Vision podcast where we gave points to the Biscuits, essentially in a Eurovision style. And he and Fitch hosted. Fitch, he loves his Brexit. Let's just put it like that.
Okay.
And Morty looks like Mark Lebet or Lebet from The Chase, with tuxedo and bow tie and everything.
Ah, okay, fair enough. Well, it could have been a lot worse when you said you find out things about Morty that absolutely.
I don't want to
horrified you
give
and
away.
disgusted you.
I want you to listen to the podcast.
I will listen to the podcast. Yeah. Okay.
And then make your own decisions on whether Mort is a person to look up to or not.
Okay, I will do that. And Friday it comes out, doesn't it? I will do that, and I will.
I believe so.
Get back to you. Yeah. Am I all right to carry on, my Maxie? Or?
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, you didn't have to stop on my accord.
Okay. Morty says he was lucky in his school. The rule was 3 suspensions and you're out, but he had 7 in his first year. Okay, doesn't actually explain what he got suspended for, but there we go. His fave teachers were the 2 that stopped him from being expelled. His school was feral, apparently.
And now I read that as Fergal.
Yeah. It's a Fergal school. He continues, he and a friend accidentally started a fire, but yeah,
I like the way you changed that so it didn't sound like you started the fire.
I'm not incriminating myself, mate. No chance. He and a friend accidentally started a fire behind the school, and then I realised as I type it, it's something that he and his mate had never said before. So he's literally just admitting to crimes to us.
I may ring the police. I may have to. We might be obliged to.
Yeah, do you reckon? I'll leave that up to you, mate, because that sounds like something I'm going to forget about. So, Morty continues. He had a teacher called Mr. Dunbar, and he can't remember why, but I started a rumor that I saw him outside the science block smoking weed, and started the name Doobie Dunbar, which stuck for years. Our last day, we sang it to the tune of "I Want to Break Free." Dunbar wants to smoke weed.
Wow, what? He doesn't come across as that kind of person.
No,
doesn't Morty? So
what he doesn't say is
shocked to that.
What he doesn't say here is that Mr. Dunbar got struck off and
and
weed.
Went to jail.
Yeah,
spent 5 years in jail.
Spiraled into a terrible depression and is sadly no longer with us. Maybe you know.
And I'd imagine they've got Morty's address already. Yes, I believe that they may have.
Our good friend Scottish Danny at Scottish Juggalo on Twitter. He says Terminator 3, The Rise of the Machines had just come out in cinemas. No one in his class was old enough to go and see it. However, we had a science teacher who was cool. He bought 30 pirate VHS tapes and he sold them to us for £2 each. Yes, he was sacked for this a short time later. So this teacher's pirating Terminator 3.
And sack for 60 quid. Brilliant. Hey, that is amazing. I'm glad I didn't read these now, because that's absolutely nailed it. Ask him if he still does them, because I could do with some pirated movies.
What, on VHS?
Yeah, that is true. I'd have to ask him if he's got a spare VHS player.
I got a VHS player. I got to move it off this chair. Yeah. Every time I sit down to record, it's always on my chair. Here.
Throw it away.
No, I'm not going to throw it away.
It's dead tech.
No, I'm not going to throw it away. I found a couple of blank tapes the other day, and I wired it all up and plugged these blank tapes in to see what was on them. And for some reason, I'd recorded a radio station off the cable channels for 4 hours. Why did I do that?
I don't believe. I think you tried to record Babe Station off the scrambled channels for 4 hours.
I ended up with Planet Rock by accident. Putting it on, sat there thinking, great, I'm going to look at it. Like, here we go.
This is going to be a struggle wank, but I will pull through.
Let's look at the boobs and bum. Oh no, it's Bruce Dickinson talking about music. Never mind. My sister messaged in via WhatsApp and said, "You've got to tell the story about your best friend breaking my arm." And I said, "Remind me of this again." So she said that when we were in junior school, she was doing my head in. I said, "I'll just get rid of my sister," to a mate of mine who pushed her over, and it broke her arm.
Oh my God.
No one at school believed her. She had to pretend that she was being sick to get sent home, but no one was at our home. And obviously this is before mobile phones. So my
no one believed that she had a broken arm.
No.
Like, what about when she
Well, I don't know. I don't know if it was all like Sid Vicious's leg. I don't know if it was all like that. You know, oh, Captain Jelly Shin. You know, I don't think it was like, I don't know if it was like that, but no one believed her that she'd really hurt her arm. And she ended up having to get my dad's mum, who's no longer with us now, but who at times when we were little was a bit of a scary lady, to come and collect her. And Hazel continues, Nanny Powell picking me up from school was one of the scariest things that's ever happened to me.
It refixed a broken arm.
Yes, it did indeed. We have messages here from Charlie, if she's still in the chat, and I'm gonna block out the names here because I don't want my little girl getting herself in trouble, even though she seems to not.
This
really
is one
care.
I have read,
Yes,
because it's hilarious.
Yes.
Bear in mind, Charlie is still quite young as well, but she's
Charlie...
formed some pretty strong opinions.
Charlie is 12 and is still taught by these teachers on a daily basis. So that's why I'm not putting the names in the tweet. Even though she says, I don't care, what are they going to do?
Yeah. All they'll do is, no, I don't like them.
Yeah. Charlie says, hated teachers, I have two. Such and such is the most hated. I really hate him. And then Miss something or other. Miss something or other is really strict and annoying. And I said, are these teachers you still have? She responded, yes. I was like, do you really want me to read this out on chain wrestling with me and Max if they're still your teachers now? And she basically says, I don't care. If they see this, they will then just know I hate them. What are they going to do? And I went and spoke to Charlie before we started broadcasting. And I said, what do you think about me reading this out on the show, Charlie? Do you still want me to do it? And she said, yeah, I don't care if they find out that I've said this, because it's not my fault I hate them. They've behaved nastily and they've made me hate them. And I was like, somewhere there's actually quite sound logic in that.
That is very, very logical. So yeah. Dr. Brown, stop being a tosser.
Why have you given his fucking name out? I've literally just been sat here going, Mr. Such and Such, and
so you do blank stuff out, and then when I say it, I'm in trouble, but you swear, and that's perfectly fine.
Well, no, swearing, yeah. I mean, I don't want my daughter's teacher to... I'm saying that, I can't imagine Charlie's teachers watch chain wrestling. I can't imagine that. I don't know.
I mean, if you're listening, Mr. Dr. Brown.
Mr. Dr. Brown. Doctor's not his first name.
I assume it's Emmett. I just assume it's Emmett from Back to the Future.
Right, yeah.
But if you are listening, stop bullying Charlie, you absolute wet wipe, or else you'll go in the Hall of Lame.
Moving on. J.A. at 80s and 90s Wrestling on Twitter. He says here, I remember bunking off when Slipknot came to play in town. We went uptown as
off. It's such an old school way of calling scarving.
Yeah,
bunking off.
I say bunking off as well.
Well, you live in a land of tractors. We're bunking off.
Okay.
We're bunking off with the Fergles.
There's a lot of Fergles at my school, mate. I'll tell you that. I went out of half of them. I remember bunking off when Slipknot came to play in town. We went uptown as a load of boors were protesting against them, and we thought it was really funny. Got in trouble as we shared a playing field with another school, and on their sports day, we pelted stuff at them. It was lovely.
It was lovely. Brilliant.
Brilliant stuff. Dan Griffin, at Dan Griffin 21 on Twitter, says his most hated teacher was my year 10 maths teacher, Mrs. Riley, who predicted I'd get a B. I got an A, and she called it disappointing. She was just mad she found the caricature of her I drew in the back of my book. Fucking twat, he's put. Amazing. Say what you really think, Dan, yeah? Dan continues.
Got him to an A and still picks on the teacher. That's mean, Dan. Grow up.
Well, he says that the teacher predicted a B, he got an A, and she was disappointed, so...
Yeah, because he should have had an A star. So it's a letdown, Dan.
You're an underachiever, Dan.
Getting an A. Can you imagine an A and you being disappointed with an A?
Must try harder is pretty much what every single one of my school reports said. But there we go. Best sports day, Dan continues, is oddly wholesome for me. I was in year 6 primary school, and the year 3s were doing the egg and spoon. One of the year 3s had cerebral palsy, so struggled with balancing the egg. I went to help when they were struggling to make sure they finished.
that's a really, really selfless thing to do.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I personally would have gone, thank God, I'm definitely not coming last.
Oh my god. To this day, Dan continues, it's the most proud of me my mum has ever been. This says a lot about the rest of my life since, I think.
Oh, wow.
The overriding thing from my school days, Dan continues, is that I was bullied for the majority of it. But my advice to anyone listening, and this I have read already, and it is fucking fantastic. And my girls are still listening in the chat, or any other children listening to the podcast version or in the chat.
And even Dr. Brown, if you're listening.
Brown. You might as well just carry on calling your name now, seeing as Magsy's exposed it.
I can't remember the other teacher, though, so they get away with it.
Yeah. The overriding thing for my school days is that I was bullied for the majority of it. But my advice to anyone listening who is going through anything similar is this. The bully's words do not matter, and their opinions do not define you. Be yourself. Be the best you can be. 100%, Dan. Absolutely spot on, mate.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Dr. Brown, if that's your real name.
What
I don't think he's actually a doctor. I really don't.
Who has the first name with only 2 letters in it? What a dick. You know? Oh, hang on. Si's only got 2 letters. I didn't even twig when I said that. Yeah, Si's got 2 letters. Yeah. Whoops. Okay. Let's move on. Steve-O at Total Steve-O on Twitter. He says he sent us quite a few here, so I'm just going to run through them quickly. Listening to my favorite health and fitness podcast, one of the guys talks about he has ADHD, and it makes sense for him now, 25 years later, why he couldn't learn, and identifies the behaviors he has to attribute to the illness now. I bring this up because I clearly have it, a mild form. And it explains my behavior.
I don't know if it's that mild. I've seen a lot of Steve O's videos. Yeah, I think it's very extensive. No, but yeah, it is a serious issue. My youngest son, Carlos, he suffered with that really, really badly, ADHD. And then on top of that, he was dyslexic, so he really kind of struggled in school, which leads kids who get frustrated and struggle in school, they lead to being maybe labelled the bad kids, the naughty kids.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot of work to kind of get out of that mindset. And thankfully, with a lot of pushing from me and his mum, he's doing really well. He's actually at uni now, which is superb. Yeah.
Oh, fair play, mate. Yeah, great stuff. Steve-O says, a mild form of it, he says, and explains my behaviour at school. I hated it, got bored very easily, never learned anything, as of course was subject matter I had no interest in. The only thing I was good at was being an athlete, specifically in football and sprinting, either 100 or 200 meters. Actually won gold for our school at a national sports event for our 400-meter medley team. Anyhow, back then, 1999, 2000-ish, these achievements weren't looked upon favourably if you weren't doing well in English, maths, geography, etc.
Yeah.
The funny thing is, fast forward 22 years, and it's now encouraged by teachers to build around the pupils' abilities in whatever subject, rather than enforcing, yes, we all understand the fundamentals of learning history, IT, French, but it should never have been that way. Prioritising over, in my case, sport. I was told I wasn't allowed to do GCSE PE because I didn't get a C in maths, English, history. Looking back, it's fucking criminal. From a friend's perspective, had lots of friends being the class clown, gives you a lot of passes with people. Class clown, brilliant. In fact, I see in the environment I work in now, retail, the difference in characters and how they'd be at school. The popular ones, the thick ones, the good looking, the funny. Hard I pretty much do psychology lessons to help me understand the thought process in people and why they act like they do and how to combat it for my own greater good. School sadly almost defines who you are in later life, as it literally is your developing years as a human. It took me until I was 17, 2 years after leaving, that there were girls outside of my school year that were other friends I could make. There are people that are your peers that are willing to encourage your abilities to further and better yourself. Sadly, some of the bullying, specifically from girls, has psychologically fucked me to this day, which is a real big shame. I never had physical but mental abuse, essentially just being called ugly, looking like various animals. Like I say, in your developing years, it stays with you, like an abusive parent, adult to a child. The irony is, it has made me a much stronger person. Rightly or wrongly, I stand up to bullies, and if needs and if needs to get physical, I have no issue doing so. I only have 3 friends in my life from school. 2 are brothers that were neighbours at the time, but the majority moved on to pastures new. A lot I know have moved on into trade like builder, electrician, plasterer, etc. and married. I'm still a very immature, petulant kid, but sometimes I genuinely put that down to the fact people take life too seriously, and I try and lighten the mood. Fair enough, Steve-O, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and I think what Steve highlights there is that there's different ways to approach how bullying can affect people. Steve has taken the mindset that it's made him a stronger person, but he acknowledges how much it affects him. Other people, it affects them for the rest of their life. It really puts in them in a mindset where they are never going to be good enough. Those kind of developmental years in school can be some of the hardest times for kids, because you are learning who you are as a person, and if everybody around you is telling you that you are worthless, that can stick with you. That can really, and as Steve says, it stuck with him in terms of the bullying from the girls. That kind of thing can affect you years and years and years down the line, and affect your future relationships, affect your career prospects. So yeah, there's no, I don't think there's any kind of one size fits all way of approaching how to react to bullying. Just know that there's support out there for you, that people, not everybody has the mindset of these bullies. There are people who will help encourage you, who will help you be the person that you can be. And the one defining thing that Steve says is that, and also Dan, he mentioned it in his, that these bullies are looking to intimidate and to force their insecurities onto you. You have to have that mindset and that ideology that they don't define you as a person. You can go on and achieve whatever it is that you want to achieve, and just try to not live your life in the spectre of what these people say, because they will ruin your life if you don't. If you allow them, they will torment your life. You've got to be your own person.
Yeah, exactly. There's so many times now I look back. I mean, I've been a wrestling fan my whole life. I've been a heavy metal fan my whole life, and there was so many times I hid those things from other people when I was a kid for fear of being picked on, and I did get picked on and laughed at. I got called all sorts of names for liking wrestling, and you can imagine, watching sweaty men rolling around together, you can imagine the derogatory terms that were thrown my way, and it got pretty horrific sometimes. And I felt like I had no one to talk to, because I didn't really have any other mates who liked wrestling either, and that's just one sort of very mild example. Some of the things you hear other people go through is just absolutely terrifying and horrific, and it just shot. And Dan makes a really good point in the chat there, actually, about bullying being horrific, and he can't imagine how much worse it is now with social media and the constant access to people, because it would be like if you've got a Facebook and all this sort of stuff, an Instagram and whatever else the kids have now that's popular, it's like you can't escape, because those bullies are still able to get at you in your own house. And it's just I hope and pray that if anything happened with regards to like picking on or bullying or genuinely upsetting any of my kids, that they wouldn't just hide themselves away. They'd come and speak to me or the wife. They would, because they know we're always there for them. But it's a constant worry as a parent in that scenario, being bullied myself and knowing how upset and lonely and horrific I felt over something that's probably nowhere near as bad as some of the experiences that we're reading out from people like Steve and so on today. It really makes me worry, even though my kids come across like they're sound. It makes me worry, is there anything going on that I don't know about or anything like that, just because I don't want them to feel how I felt, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and Connor kind of doubles down in the chat, and we have seen your comments, Connor. It's just they've been ill-timed when we've been talking about other things. But welcome to the show. We always appreciate you tuning in. And he says a lot of what Steve said has hit home for him. He's been bullied and called certain names for who he chooses to love, and that's why he has his YouTube channel to watch football a lot and talk about it. And yeah, that's a really good way of combating bullying. Don't let these people dictate what you can and can't enjoy. If you enjoy football, if you enjoy wrestling, whatever, if you're having fun doing it, shout it from the rooftops. Absolutely. I will never give anybody grief for something that they enjoy doing or they enjoy watching, because there's not enough good in this world. And if something entertains you, have at it. Absolutely have at it.
Well, on the other side of the coin, if somebody likes something you're not into, don't be a dick. Just keep your gob shut. Wish them well. Move on. Simple as that, isn't it? Speaking of Connor, his message is, funnily enough, literally the next one up as well, which is
awesome.
A nice little segue back to our non-wrestling topic, Maxie.
Getting 2 shout-outs in one.
I know. At Connor Knows Crew on Twitter, he sent us a little clip of a video of a basketball game where it was for his school's home game in February-ish, when they upset the then number 1 team in the league, and Connor did the play-by-play commentary for it. Which is
awesome.
Fantastic.
Well
Absolutely
done,
brilliant. Well done, mate. That's awesome. You know, and he says that they won in overtime, which is extra time for us UK folks. Brilliant. Thanks, Connor. Yeah, no, that was awesome. That's great that he's doing that. Yeah, fantastic. Keep it up, mate. Well done, and keep it up with your channel as well. You know, I try to check in when I can, but obviously the game times are a little bit skew with to when I'm awake and when I'm not awake. But keep it up, mate. Keep plugging away. And it's really good to have you on board with us here tonight and with the rest of the CWF and all that. It's great stuff, mate.
Always welcome. Everybody's welcome in here, except for Dr. Brown and Ryan Satin.
Yes, and Brad Shepherd.
Brad Shepherd, yeah.
There's a few others as well, but we ain't got time. Andy at Bang Bang Podcast. These were sent via DM, Magsy, so you won't have them there because they came in this late this evening, so I've not done anything else other than screenshot them. So Andy says, a few school tales, and then in brackets, strap yourselves in, he says.
Oh, here we go.
Andy says,
popcorn ready.
We had an art teacher, let's call him Mr. B, or was it Brown? Was this before he got his doctorate?
Was it Mr. Doc? Yeah, he's a doctor in art.
Yeah.
Mr. Dr. B.
An art doctor. He fixes poorly paintings. Let's call him Mr. B. Always a bit of a prick. Was a massive perv too, which I think led to him being struck off. Brilliant. He had a big scar on his neck. Looked like someone had cut his throat. Turned out he had a twin brother who was a bus driver, and he had exactly the same scar. So we all just imagined they'd been conjoined at some point, possibly by the neck. Anyway, he was a see you next Tuesday. You can imagine that being stuck to the twin by the neck.
Wow.
Not a good look. Me and my mates turned over an ice cream van outside the school. We didn't rob it, which is okay. Well, that's all right then.
just demolished it.
Yeah, we didn't rob it. We literally just tipped it over. Got into a bit of bother. He was 12 at this point. So that's awesome. It looks like I have screwed up and not actually screenshotted his other messages. So bear with me just 1 second whilst I jump over to them, Magsy, because I am a clown.
He's saying that is Bristol for you. Sharon and Matt doing a little bit of RBF dealing, it seems, in the chat. Matt, she will sort you out when she's free. And Matt says, again, to Connor, you keep doing what you're doing. We're incredibly proud of you and keep flying the flag, sir. Very, very proud. Absolutely.
Yeah, 100%. Andy continues, me and my mates turned over their screen van. Nope, read that one, sorry. And on a youth hosteling trip to Swanage, one of my mates got caught having a wank in the toilets of a furniture showroom.
What? Wow. I don't know if that was one of his mates.
Yeah, one of his mates. Him. Yeah. I'm asking for a friend. One of those scenarios. Okay, so basically, on a youth hosteling trip to Swanage, Andy from Bang Bang Podcast got caught having a wank in the toilets of a furniture showroom.
I wonder if he was listening to Planet Rock.
Maybe. What furniture store was it? I don't know why that makes a difference.
DFS.
But yeah. God.
That one day they weren't having a sale.
Yeah. It was the only warm place, and you could get cups of tea in there, but still no excuse for bashing one out.
So you could get. He's confirmed it was MFR. Shock horror.
Okay.
But it was the only warm place. And one of the reasons you wanked you and I'll out you, I think it was you. One of the reasons why you had a wank in MFR was because they give you 3 cups of tea. Was that pre-wank or post-wank, or was it even during the wank?
You'd spill it, wouldn't you?
Well, it might be. You might need to pep it up, flick a bit of blood in it.
What is wrong with you? Oh, well, come on, man. Oh, this just took a dark turn.
You've
dark
not
turn.
been to Swanage. And I'm glad. I'm absolutely glad I've never been to Swanage.
Shocking. At Good Bad Wrestle via DM again. He says, okay, I will share this hashtag bad cop moment from when I was around 12, 13. On a bus trip on the way back from a school rugby trip to Holland, the upcoming Liverpool versus Nottingham Forest game was at the front of his mind. So this would be, I'm assuming, Matt Graham. I don't know. It's just come from the Good Bad.
If it's from good bad, it's usually Graham.
Okay, is he a Liverpool or Forest fan? Is he? Nice. MFI. And Griffin says in the chat, MFI masturbating furiously indoors. That's those adverts totally on different context for me now every time I watch. Okay. Yeah, the Liverpool Nottingham Forest game was at the front of his mind. So he went to buy a Sunday paper to read on the bus to find out more, get the build up, etc., and everything. What title seemed most apt? The Sunday Sport. So he purchased it. I had no idea, but it was quickly evident I had not bought what I thought. I had bought once I got on the bus.
Graham was having a trip to Swanage and thought, I need some material before I nip into MFR to bash one out.
I need some visual aids for when I nip into courts or whatever.
I can't knock out these knuckle children without some visual stimulation.
Oh dear.
I can just imagine his face. Right, let's read about. I'm right excited for this Forest versus Liverpool game.
Can we pull over? I think I was still in MFI back there.
Holding the newspaper to hard his stonking hard on whilst he got off the bus.
Oh man.
Graham, you absolute animal. No wonder you couldn't stay for the full episode. Disc golf, my body.
He knew this was coming. He knew this was coming out. That's it. Mm-hmm. He's basically loads of the other kids were shouting deliberately so the teachers could hear. What have you got there? Is that the Sunday Sport? Soon enough, teachers came to the back, confiscated it, and perused it at their leisure on the way home.
And we need to take this for evidence.
Yeah, exactly. They then passed it on to the next teacher, who did the same, all in clear view of the students on the bus. It was really embarrassing how naive I was, but very funny looking back. The teachers looking, nudging each other and pointing at the pictures. They were loving it, looking through it. Ha ha. I think it made their trip. Brilliant.
Wow. So, pervy teachers as well. Amazing.
Yeah. There we go. Millwall Chris, again via DM to @chain_wrestling. At Millwall Chris 1 on Twitter. He says here, a couple of late ones, but I'll keep them as concise as possible. Most of my school tales are from my work in schools. I once took 10 year 6 children to a swimming competition, including my youngest daughter. Even though I had 2 signed letters for each child saying their child could swim 25 meters, 2 of them couldn't swim and almost drowned.
Was that rotting or was that just a genuine Sir Powell laugh at drowning kids? At drowning kids. Brilliant.
He had 2 signed letters for each child saying they could swim 25 meters, but 2 of them couldn't swim and he took them to a swimming competition. Oh, that's brilliant.
Mean, they may have done the 25 meters like depth.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. Oh man. Safe to say, we didn't win the competition, Chris continues. On a staff night out with a secondary school, I saw a technology technician teabag an art teacher while she was virtually passed out in a club. I feel bad because it was kind of my suggestion. Kind of my suggestion.
Wow.
Oh, brilliant. I also worked with one of the daughters of the British film director Ken Russell. Okay.
Okay.
I don't know who that is.
Shock.
And lastly, he says, when I was at primary school, I went missing, and the police were out looking for me. We had a football match scheduled after school, but it got cancelled. So me and a couple of the others decided to head to the local shopping centre. We thought we could just hang out and then return home, and nobody would know. Unfortunately, one of the other players saw my sister and told her the game was off. So when I didn't show up, they thought I had gone missing. To say I got in trouble when I got home is an understatement. I also got in trouble the next day at school as well. That's brilliant. Your poor parents are getting so worked up and upset because they're stressed out because they don't know where you are, and you're just having a little jolly in the.
In those cases, surely you just pretend you'd been kidnapped just to get out of the trouble. Wouldn't you just blame Mr. Dr. Brown? So,
Mr. Dr. Brown picked me up in the child catcher van, his big net. 3 sweets and puppies written on the side.
Wow.
Oh dear. Magsy, what about yourself, my friend?
So, I mean, this will shock you to hear, but I was actually a really good pupil.
I call bullshit.
No, I was straight A pupil.
Oh, really? Okay.
Did really well. I think the end of my GCSEs, I had like 6 A's, like 4 B's, and I did get a U. That was in PE because I took GCSE PE. I did smash the theory. Didn't really do that well on the physical because I'm a bit of a husky gentleman. And it was because I wanted to go to uni to study medicine. But I got ill whilst in college, so that kind of put pay to that. But yeah, in terms of school, really good all the way through it. Liked by the majority of my teachers. There was one teacher who everybody hated, called Mrs. Johnson. She looked like a proper witch, literally like a cackling ha 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 witch.
Amazing.
And to be fair to her, she was probably the best teacher in terms of getting work out of pupils because she was so terrifying.
Fear factor, I guess.
Yeah, and she was actually really good at making you understand. She was the maths teacher. She was really good at actually making you understand the theories in maths, but she was also very terrifying. I did get into trouble once. I have had 1 detention in my whole...
1 detention?
Yes.
Oh, my goodness.
This was in Spanish. And we had a teacher called Mrs. Brown, and she was
again.
Yeah, must be something about Browns.
Yeah.
She was the
Whoa,
nicest...
hang on. Careful.
We'll leave that there.
The surname, you mean, obviously. Carry on.
that was on you. I did not even remotely notice that connotation. But yeah, about people whose name are Browns. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and she was the nicest teacher, really kind of soft-spoken, and everybody liked her. But I was bored one time in a lesson, and she had flowers on the windowsill, and I had a window table. So I picked a couple of petals off the flowers. Oh, I have never seen a 180 in a teacher before like that in my life. She tore into me for taking off a couple, and I ended up getting the detention, and I had to scrape chewing gum off the underside of the tables for half an hour after school. Yeah.
I remember having to do that, like the science desks we used to do, because for some reason they were always the worst. And you'd either get like the really hard bits of chewing gum and it would just pop off, or you get the ones that haven't been there long and you'd stick
and you're like still warm, still a bit moist.
Oh, it's horrible.
And then there's I've got another story, I suppose, and this, looking back on it, it's actually this actually sounds really bad on the teacher's behalf, But I was in junior school, and to say I would say I was way more advanced than all the pupils in the class. That's not me being big-headed, but just the work it came really easy to me. So I mentioned to the teacher, look, I'm sat here, I'm bored. I'm doing this work, and I'm finishing half an hour, 45 minutes before everybody else, and I'm sat here twiddling my thumbs. Now, if nowadays a teacher hears that, they'd think this is a pupil who we can kind of like push on and really kind of really grow. That teacher took offence to me being bored of the work and sat me in the corner of the class with just a massive teacher textbook to essentially learn on my own, whilst all the other pupils in the class got on with the standard curriculum. So never show off in class, essentially, because the teacher will not like it.
It's like, look, you clever little shit, go put your nose to
Essentially that. We had a meeting with the headmaster, and it was literally, the teacher feels embarrassed because you say this work is not enthralling enough for you. So yeah.
Oh dear me. I used to bunk off quite a bit, Magsy, from school.
I don't doubt that for an absolute second.
I mean, it started off because I hated my art teacher. I took GCSE art because I loved doing art.
I loved my art teacher, and that's another story. She was a teacher called Mrs. Gorman. I mean, you will want me to interrupt on this, but she was a teacher called Mrs. Gorman. And there was a rumour that always went round that she wore no underwear.
Okay, where are we going with this?
So our kind of art desks were fairly high up, so instead of sitting on chairs, you sat on kind of like stools and your tables up. So we would regularly drop our pencils or our art supplies to see if we could get a peep all the way through. But we sat like directly in her arse out on purpose, so we get the best view if we could prove that this rumour was true or not. We got close, but we never quite got the definitive proof.
Oh, see, nowadays it'd be easier, wouldn't it? You can just like put the little flash on your phone and.
With none of that stuff in my days.
No,
you needed a camera where you wound up like that and.
Yeah, see how easy it is now for the kids to perv on their teachers. We had to work hard to perv on our teachers back in the day.
That's a graft. I had to take GCSE art. Couldn't give a shit about GCSE art. I've got as much art in me as Matt has in cooking or doctoring.
Right. Yeah. I used to. It started off art because the teacher there, I couldn't stand him. He was vile to my aunt when she went to the same school. He was vile to me. He ended up being vile to my little sister. I don't know if it was a family thing, but he was an asshole to a lot of people. But it got to a point where this person's name was mentioned so often in my house that when my sister went to the school and she got upset by this guy, my dad actually went in the school one day mid-lesson and basically took him out into the corridor and ripped him a new one in front of all the kids.
Just beat the shit out of him.
You couldn't do it now because they're all security gates and all that sort of stuff, isn't they? And my dad, we weren't having it. But yeah, I just started bunking off art. But then I realised after about a month or two of not going to art, I realised, why am I going back into school to finish the day? I might as well just stay out. So I did. Yep. And I had a friend of mine who lived, I wouldn't say down the road. It felt like it was just down the road, but when we were kids. But now I'm a grown up and I go past his old house and so on. It's bloody miles from the school. So I don't know what we were thinking.
You did that as kids.
Yeah. So we'd finish, we'd like, walk out of class or whatever, or walk out of the school. And we go to the shop, buy some cigarettes, a couple of pot noodles, and then we just go into his house, eat pot noodles, smoke cigarettes, and play guitar for 3-4 hours at a time. Which is amazing, really, because I was shit at guitar, and I'm still shit at guitar. You think of me bunking off and playing it as regular?
Time wasted there, then.
Yeah, exactly, mate. Exactly. We'd sometimes sit and watch, like, I don't know, Guns N' Roses live in Tokyo, VHS tapes and all that sort of stuff, but we just basically just doss around in his house all the time. And I remember walking through the door, and his mum would be there. And she'd try and tell him off and be like, why are you home from school again? And he'd just be like, off, mum, and just walk into this little space at the back of his house that was almost like a little mini studio set out because the whole family were quite musical. And we just stay there for the rest of the afternoon. So yeah, that was my bunking off from art, mate.
What a great story. I mean,
You know.
I think my art story may trump yours.
Oh, it does, because you're trying to get a peek.
Yeah, tried to get a peek of gash. Didn't
Yes.
quite succeed it, but it was well worth the GCSE.
Yes, there we go.
And she was proper fit as well.
Is that right?
Yeah.
See, I had a bit of a thing.
Sorry,
for one
Mrs.
of
Gorman, if you're listening.
I had a bit of a thing for one of my English teachers at one point.
Oh no,
Mr.
my English teacher were old.
No, no. My English teacher, yeah, she was like mid-20s, I guess, when I was 16, and everyone thought she was fantastic. Everyone fancied her, you know. And and there was rumors that she'd come to our school because she got caught going to parties with sixth formers and behaving in a certain way at other schools.
I could tell you another tale about that, and this doesn't involve me, but it certainly was a teacher. There was a PE teacher at our school, and he was married to another PE teacher. And one of the girls in our year had an affair with said PE teacher. And both teachers stayed on. He didn't. I don't think he got. I think he got fired after the end of the school year. But yeah, essentially, he was knocking off one of the 16-year-olds whilst being married to another teacher.
No way. There was I don't know if I've mentioned it before on the show. I'm not going to name names because it's dodgy ground. First name I will, because plenty of people have this same first name. But
it was Mr. Dr. Brown again.
Mr. Dr. Brown, yeah. Basically, this teacher, I can't remember what he taught. He never taught me. So he'd have probably been in the higher sets, I guess. But he had an unusual relationship with one of the girls in my year, and it was quite spoken about openly. And she behaved a certain way back and so on. When she left school, they got married, and she was like 17, and he was old. He was old then, you know. As far as I know, now they're divorced and whatever. I don't know. I never really kept in contact with her, especially not him. But the weird thing is, there was rumors about him, and it is rumors, and it's incredibly sad to sort of go along with these rumors. It can ruin someone's life. You know, if it's the case, but there was rumors about him being involved with her while she was still at school and so on. And there was a gang of lads who saw him once in town and just started shouting, "Pedo, pedo, pedo" at him. And he heard them because he sort of glanced and carried on, and they kept yelling pedo at him. And then they turned around and called him by his first name. But that's what he reacted to. He turned around and went mad at them, screaming and shouting at them when they referred to him by his first name. But when they were yelling pedo at him, he just blanked it. That's weird.
Wow. I mean, I don't mind being called pedo, but how dare you call me Trevor?
Yeah, don't
how
call me
dare you?
But there we go. Let's move on, shall we? Before I say something that's going to get me sued for libel reasons or whatever, you know. Magsy, do we have to have a quick check in the chat before we move on and talk a bit of wrestling, bud?
Yes, we do. A lot of them mocking me. This is going to be a classic. That may need to be an episode title as well. That's kind of on the lines of you can't arrest somebody for naming strangers cocks. Sharon says she went for a 1 minute and came back to absolute carnage. It was all your hubby. It was all your hubby. Matt confirming that Graham will not let him near the good cop bad cop account. He's worried it will cost us followers. He's right to worry. Dan wanted to know what that laugh was about.
It just came out. I don't know.
Tanner in the chat paging Dr. Brown. Dr. Lord Mags. Surely it'd be Lord Dr. Mags. Surely does the Lord not trump? Dan, Mags, you bad sod. I never got one. You absolute brown noser.
Well, hang on, Mr. I got A's, 1 detention. Do you know what I mean? It's like you can't be calling somebody else a brown noser.
If you've had no detention, you are a brown noser.
Yeah, but you're like only 1 off.
I know, and I ruined someone's flowers to get that detention.
Yeah, fair point.
Matt confirming that the Stein brothers have been inducted into WWE Hall of Fame, which is absolutely awesome.
Yeah, totally.
And Dan Griffin, Mag's loving his art teacher is the start to a movie that used to come on Channel 5 at midnight. Yeah, the Red Shoe Diaries.
Yeah. Oh, okie doke, mate. Okie doke. So then, Mags, shall we talk a little bit of wrestling, considering we're nearly an hour and a half into the show?
Let's get ready to rumble!
This week's wrestling topic is an option for the poll that I put forward, but it was a couple of weeks ago, because obviously we had a week off. So this was the poll from a couple of weeks back. So if people couldn't really remember what won, it's the Royal Rumble 1993 WWF World Title match.
Whose
Bret
pick
Hart.
was it?
I said it was my pick. Why have you got to be all? You see, you say it don't matter. You say it doesn't bother you, but then you react like that.
It doesn't matter. Either one of the picks would have been a worthy pick.
Yeah.
And I know it's a little bit late, but it's still honouring the sad passing of one of wrestling's greats.
Yeah, definitely. The match we're
And
looking
also
at.
Bret Hart's in it.
He is. And he is fantastic. Bret Hart versus Razor Ramon from the Royal Rumble 1993. To be honest, a pretty dire pay-per-view all round. Probably the worst Rumble overall, I think.
Yeah, there's not a lot outside Bret Hart being the star of every pay-per-view in this kind of 2-year stretch. Yeah, there's not a lot of good comes out of this pay-per-view. You're right there.
Yeah, definitely. It's to me very much of its time, but at the same time, I think you could still do a match like this now because they tell such a great story. It's actual wrestling for me. It's not high spots. It's not flying around, flips and all that, which is fine. That's got its place in the wrestling business, of course. I find that entertaining as well. But this to me is two incredibly talented professional wrestlers putting on a very good professional wrestling match. The aim is to basically look like they're fighting and hurting each other when they're not, make it as realistic as possible. And I think this match here is a great advert for that art form, I suppose, Mags.
Yeah, and you have the same point that I came with as soon as I started watching this match, that it's such it's such a dichotomy with the hyper fast paced, very technical wrestling that we've got now, where moves look spectacular but often feel overly technical, look like they may not hurt as much as they should in a fake fight. This was classic chain style wrestling where moves were meant to look like they hurt two wrestlers working together to take the fans on a journey with a story. Yeah, this was everything that a young Mags fell in love with when it came to wrestling.
Yeah, 100%. And Brett is just fantastic. I mean, we'll come to Scott Hall, no doubt, when we start breaking the match down in a moment. But Brett, just honestly, one of the greatest of all time, without a doubt. I know that's stating the obvious, I suppose, to a great deal of wrestling fans, but my God, was he good.
He will be. He should always be known as one of the very best to ever do it in the ring. Whether you like his kind of believing in kayfabe and the reality of wrestling or not, there is no arguing that when it came to being inside those ropes, he was one of the very best to ever do it. He very rarely, if ever, had a bad match. And like I said earlier, any pay-per-view that he was on, it was his matches that stood out. He could take a poor wrestler and make a really good match out of it. That's an art form in itself, to be able to work with small guys, tall guys, huge monster heels, and still be able to get amazing matches out of them. It's phenomenal. And we've covered King of the Ring that he ends up winning, where he has
Yeah.
3 matches in a night, and he has 3 totally different matches with 3 totally different kinds of opponents, and each one of those matches could have easily been match of the night. He's just that damn good.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one of my favourite pay-per-views, actually. That's one of the VHS tapes that I wore out when I was a kid, along with SummerSlam 89 and WrestleMania 10 and stuff, just absolutely fantastic show. And again, it's because of Brett. Brett makes it a great show. There's not much else on the card outside of Brett matches that's worth watching, but it's just a really, really good performance by him, as it is here, and we get a couple of promos beforehand. Razor's is filmed the night before. He's at the basketball, and he's talking about having gold around his neck, and he's then going to have the Hitman's gold around his waist. And he just, even in a ridiculously loud 90s shirt and the big gold chains and that, he just still looks so cool.
Yeah, he does. He epitomizes, him and Kevin Nash may be the 2 coolest people to ever wrestle.
Yeah.
They just ooze machismo.
Brett responds effectively from the gorilla position, doesn't he? He kind of cuts a quick promo before he goes out. That's right, isn't it?
Yep.
And we see, and this is kind of unusual, I think, for this time. We see Brett going to the ring from that side of the curtain. And we can see, I think it was JJ Dillon sat at the table, giving him timing cues of when to actually walk out.
I rewound this bit, and it felt to me that he was telling Fink what to say, because as Fink was introducing Bret Hart, he was mouthing the same words, or it felt like he was mouthing the same words. Yeah.
Right, okay. Maybe he was waiting for a cue. He knows when he says, I don't know.
Yeah,
what was
he's
Brett,
just repeating just to remind himself.
Maybe, I don't know, yeah. But it was, sat at the little table. With regards to the entrances, both of these entrance themes to me are just so iconic because they remind me of being a kid. They remind me of getting this VHS tape off my uncle, who was the only person I knew who had Sky, and so on. The old Heart Foundation music that Brett used when he first went solo and started winning his first world title and so on. I think I might prefer that to the newer Bret Hart theme with the screech of the guitar first, just because it's the first one I heard. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I get that. And then when you get to the Razor music, it's got that car crash screech that I think they reused for Mankind. But yeah, it's just the in an era where theme musics were pretty bland, unless you were the likes of Hogan, these 2 do stand out.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. The title belt here as well. I know we speak about the same title belts over and over and have done since the show started, but the Winged Eagle title belt around Brett's waist, just absolutely, that's what a wrestling championship should look like, man. That is so good.
It fits him perfectly as well. It's so it looks really legitimate on him.
Yeah, definitely. Brett obviously gives his glasses out to a young fan in the crowd, and Razor leans through the ropes and just throws his toothpick at the same kid. That is
brilliant
gold.
Work.
So simple but fantastic.
That is, and this is a Razor who's only been in the company 8 months at this time. I think he came in like the late part of 1992. So to be just that into the character and know how to work the crowd, and something as simple as that, throwing the toothpick at someone who Brett has singled out for the glasses. Brilliant work. Yeah. So simple, but so brilliant.
Because of this, Brett just starts throwing punches, doesn't he? We end up with a bit of a brawl to start the match. Both of these guys, and it's something I've said about Bret Hart over and over again, and I'm going to say it now about Scott Hall as well. I think they are so good because you can't see through their stuff.
Nope.
When they're throwing these punches. Obviously, if you've got a guy who's how tall is Razor? 6'4", 6'5", whatever he is, and the weight he is.
I think he's probably a little bit bigger than that. I think you're looking maybe like 6'7".
Okay, you got a guy who's 6'7", weighs the way he does, looks the way he does, punching you repeatedly in the face. Eventually, you're going to go down. It's going to leave marks, etc. I appreciate that. That's the one aspect of pro wrestling that you can't kind of alter, I guess. But the actual, if you take each punch as an individual moment, you can't see through it. Unlike when The Rock or Shane McMahon throw punches, you can see that is shit. Whereas these two, it looks like they're clocking each other.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you go and rewatch this match, and I implore you to do so, this is how two wrestlers at their peak of their skills put on a show. There is no errors in this match whatsoever. It's seamless. It's genuinely seamless.
Yeah, it's absolutely fantastic. Brett starts working on Razor's leg, and this is, again, it makes sense because obviously his finisher is the sharpshooter, so he's going to be working the legs and so on. But also, Razor's the bigger man, and you're always told as a kid growing up, the commentators, Gorilla Monsoon and all that, are always saying, take out the bigger man's legs, get him on the mat. Was it Vince McMahon who used to say everyone's the same size on the mat?
Everyone's the same size as leg down, yeah.
We get a figure 4 leg lock really early on as well, which was pretty cool. And then Razor drags himself to the ropes. And this is something I don't see a lot of now. I think when people use the figure 4, it is effectively a transition move. People don't win matches with the figure 4 anymore. But they put the figure 4 on, then the opponent either turns them over or gets to the ropes. And they just let go of the hold and move on to the next spot. Here, because Brett's applying the pressure in theory and their legs are tangled and so on, the ref physically has to untangle their legs for them to carry on. I love that. It's so simple, but I thought it was really, really added to what they were doing.
Yeah, and it's not the only time that Earl Hebner will be a part of this match physically.
Yeah. The match turns when Brett takes a really vicious looking bump into the ring post, Mags, doesn't he?
That he is an expert at that chest first bump. I don't think anybody can do it as good as him.
Well, this is the ribs, isn't it? He almost slides on his belly and goes under the bottom turnbuckle.
Oh, yeah. That happened before the chest. The chest whip.
Yeah, and he's kind of on his gut and sideways on, and the ring post hits him in his ribs, and it's
essentially stopping him from sliding out of the ring.
Yeah, exactly.
With his ribs.
And it looks so. Again, I don't want to keep using the term, but it looks so realistic.
It does, but we get some commentary from Gorilla, who kind of like over eggs the pudding. I think he says Brett could have a cracked rib, or he could have injured the intercostal muscles and the ligament between the ribs, which will hurt more than a broken rib. And I'm like, will it though? Will it?
And I'm fairly certain.
More than a broken bone, Gorilla. Come on now.
I think one of those words doesn't actually exist as well.
Yeah. I mean, how many times did they make up words anyway?
Yeah. Exactly. Razor then, because of this, starts working on the ribs, the chest, and that sort of some vicious backbreakers and stuff.
Great storytelling, and it's something that it goes by the wayside a lot in modern wrestling.
Yeah,
because it is so fast paced, because it is so technical. Injuries or kayfabe injuries are kind of forgotten pretty quickly in matches. Where you go back to this period, and Brett not only sells injuries in the match, oftentimes he's selling injuries post-match and even into the next match. He was so good at stuff like that.
Yeah, the Bret Hart limp, as we've discussed previously. In fact, that was brought up on one of the first 5 episodes of Chain Wrestling, because it was played back this week whilst we were absent for a week. We chucked out.
We're having a scav.
We chucked out the first 5 episodes of Chain Wrestling for people who may not have heard it before, see where the chain started. We had quite a few people listen and message us and tweet us about enjoying the old shows, so really appreciate people checking those out. Maybe that's something we'll do again. We'll start from episode 6 and chuck a few more out somewhere down the line. We'll see. But Razor, he's working these ribs and he's working Bret Hart down the side of his body, and he applies an abdominal stretch, and it looks like it's genuinely causing Bret pain, because Razor's such a big fella and Bret's like twisted and contorted around Razor's body, and he's punching him in the ribs as he's got him in this abdominal stretch.
Which
he's
you would
driving
do.
his elbow in as well. Oh, it's fantastic.
You would do that if this was a proper fight and you for some reason had someone in the abdominal stretch, you would be working the ribs, because that's where the pain is. And then I think after this he does the fall away slam, which it's one of the best looking fallaway slams that anybody does. And we cut to Helen and Stu Hart, and Helen is legitimately wincing. That her boy is in so much pain. So not only is Brett selling this injury, his own mum and dad are selling it at ringside as well.
Yeah, which is good as well, because sometimes you get the camera cutting to family members or whoever, supporting wrestlers from the crowd, and they almost don't play along, or they almost don't get it sometimes. So when you see somebody genuinely reacting that way, it just adds to it, doesn't it, Mags?
It certainly does.
Yeah. I mean, Bret Hart ends up countering into his own abdominal stretch at some point. And then we get a bear hug by Razor Ramon. And I've said numerous times on this show, I am not a fan of the move, the bear hug. I just don't enjoy it. But
it made sense in this.
It made sense to what Razor was trying to achieve with working on Bret's ribs and so on after the bump into the ring post. And also, because of the size, the height and the size of Razor, it made Bret look really, really tiny. Did you see that? He looked like a little boy.
It did. And it also it allowed Bret to show his desperation in getting the win, because he has to bar Razor to essentially get Razor to let him go of the move. That kind of do anything to win no matter what kind of condition you're in. That's a hallmark of his wrestling career.
Yeah. Bret then effectively hits, I don't know the correct term for it, a suicide dive between the top rope and the middle rope. Is that,
Yeah.
And it's not something he did masses in his later years. Obviously, he's getting older and so on. But seeing him break this move out in the middle of a match that is very wrestling heavy, it's hold for hold, and every opportunity both guys get, they are going for a cover, which again to me sells the story of the match, because they're not just doing moves for the sake of it. They're not just busting out backflips and so on to look pretty. They're trying to win a sporting contest in theory, so they go for covers and that all the time. To see him then bust this move out, it seemed like a massive deal, because there wasn't any extra flips and jumps to the outside. So something as, I don't want to say as simple and as straightforward as this, because it's not in any way stretching the imagination.
Pete Gas can't pull one off, so
well, there you go. But I mean, by comparison to today, where people need to do a triple tuck, 4 backflips and whatever, it does look relatively stripped back, this dive that Bret Hart does.
But for 1993, that would have been jaw dropping, especially
coming
from, like I said, from Bret and Razor.
Yeah, in the context of this match, it's a big deal. Something else I thought was a really nice touch was when Razor was led on his back and Bret picks up his legs, and he could be going for the sharpshooter. The sheer panic on Razor, selling the sharpshooter before Bret's even stepped one leg through, again adds to me. Just by doing that, it makes the move seem even more of a big impact, even more important, before Bret even gets it on, because the panic is there from Razor thinking, I can't let him get this.
If he gets that on, it's game over.
Yeah, exactly. So it gets the move, for want of a better cheesy wrestling term, I suppose. It gets the move over, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I think that's where Razor essentially grabs Earl Hebner to kind of drag him into and put Bret off getting the move locked in. So we see Earl Hebner take a bump, something that he wouldn't forget for the next 4 years, and when he helped screw Bret later on.
Yeah, I'm gonna remember this. I'll get my own back. I don't know where, I don't know when, but it's gonna happen. Bret comes off the middle rope. I would assume looking for that middle rope elbow that he did all the time, but Razor gets a foot up and catches Bret under the mouth.
And how long did this make Razor's legs look?
Yeah,
because Bret catches it in the chin, as you would, but Bret's almost fully stood up whilst he's hitting Razor's the bottom of Razor's boot, and Razor's lead on his back. It's just shows how long his legs were, just massive.
I mean, they comment about that on the commentary as well, don't they? Bobby Heenan is saying, I'm not sure Bret can get the sharpshooter on Scott Hall because his legs are too long.
Yeah.
You know, and again, it's just
And they
adding
were,
storytelling, isn't it? It's just adding more and more to the match. And they do the same at WrestleMania 9, saying that Brett can't get the sharpshooter on Yokozuna because Yokozuna's legs are so big. You know, I think it's something so simple, but it just really adds to the story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. After that footer, Razor goes for the Razor's Edge, which Brett counters brilliantly into a backslide. I thought that was fantastic.
Yeah, it really was. And whenever you see a match where you know Razor's losing, I always kind of watch out to see if he pulls off the Razor's Edge, because there's a story that he would never use or he would never complete a Razor's Edge if he knew he was losing the match, because he wanted to keep that move strong. And I don't think I've ever seen him use that move when he's lost a match.
Yeah, I mean, the obvious one for me would be when he wrestles Goldberg. Would Goldberg have kicked out of it? Now, I'm not saying that happened. I'm just saying that's something maybe I need to go look at, but I don't think that did happen.
Yeah, I mean, it was an interview that I listened to him years and years ago, where he said he wanted to protect that move so much that if he wasn't winning, he wouldn't break it out or he wouldn't complete the move. So perhaps he did it later in his career. Who knows? But yeah, I always watch out for a Razor's Edge in a match where I know he's going to lose.
Oh, so you're going to get me doing that now. I'm going to be watching out for that as well, just to see if it ever happens. And it obviously
you'll forget.
Yeah, I probably will. A test of strength, or Greco-Roman knuckle lock, as some of the commentators refer to it as. Razor sort of grips Brett up in, and Brett counters this by putting his legs up and through the arms, and sort of turns it into a kind of sunset flip in a way.
Yeah, Gorilla calls it a pinning combination, but yeah, that it almost looks awkward. If there was a point in the match where you'd think maybe this was done on the fly, but then you rewatch it and you see that was definitely planned. You could see how he positioned himself really well to get
Brilliant.
that. Yeah, it's unique. It's something that I've not ever seen outside of this match. So yeah, that was
right, actually.
That was really, really good.
And that's pretty much it, because after he's done that, they're both led on the deck, exhausted after this battle.
And again, Brett's ingenuity in the wrestling ring to be able to do that pinning combination, which was technically it looks really, really good. And then for them to both be led down, but in the perfect position for Brett to be able to essentially lock in a led down sharpshooter, swing his opponent around and be able to get to his feet and finish the move. Really, so technically well done. Something that if a modern wrestling fan would watch now, I don't think they'd quite appreciate just how technically skilled you would have to be to get that whole sequence of moves to go flawlessly. It was brilliantly done.
It's just the whole thing. The whole match is great. You know, we've commented over and over, you can't see through their stuff. It looks legit. All the way through the match, it looks legit. They are constantly trying to win the match with pinfall attempts, which again makes it seem more important. Just and the story they're telling with Brett going after the leg and Razor going after the ribs and the finish and Brett countering certain, it's just so good. It's just absolutely fantastic, mate. Brett obviously wins via submission with the sharpshooter. We get the awesome theme tune, Brett posing with the belt, and then we get a random bit of Lex Luger, but that's for another day.
I'm not a fan. I mean, I know this was a Royal Rumble, and I understand that the Royal Rumble has to go on last. But why have the title match and then the introduction of the narcissist Lex Luger? Yeah, I don't get that. That really shits on this match for me.
Yeah, a little bit, mate, a little bit. And then Cleopatra and that come out, don't they, and talk for what seems like half of my life about absolute bollocks.
Yeah.
And just knock any momentum they have from this wonderful match. They just destroy the atmosphere completely. But there we go. Never mind. Never mind.
Narcissist.
Yes, that's right. Magsy, out of 10 then?
Yeah, Brilliant match. One that I definitely implore you all to go and watch if you've not seen it, or Dan, go watch it again for the millionth time. Being the Bret Hart mark that you are, I don't think it's one of his best. I think he's had much better matches, but it was still very, very enjoyable. I think I'll go 7.5 on this.
Oh, okay, 7.5. Yeah, fair enough. I was toying 7.5, 8 myself. I'll probably give it a 7, a smidge lower, because I know I've given 7.5 to other things that I do prefer, and 8 to other things I do prefer. So yeah, so 7 from me, 7.5 from yourself, mate. Yeah, very, very well worth checking out this contest, especially for younger wrestling fans who hopefully are educated enough to have patience to sit through a match that doesn't involve 47 backflips. This is how wrestling, to me, should be done. It's just really good storytelling. Okay, then. I suppose next, mate, where do we go next week?
Okay, so I want to continue this. So Bret goes on to face the winner of the 1993 Royal Rumble. So I think we should stick with Bret. I think we should go to WrestleMania 9, and we should take him 2 matches. Again, I'm I'm fudging the rules a little bit. I think we should watch Yokozuna challenge Bret for that world title, and then I think we should watch the man that has to pause at the end of every show, watch Hulk Hogan, then challenge the winner. Won't give away the spoilers of who wins, but challenge the winner of that match for the WWF title. So WrestleMania 9, Bret versus Yokozuna, and then Hogan versus the winner.
Yeah, I like that. It may not be as technically sound as some of the other matches we've seen, but I loved this. And I as a kid, Hogan coming out and doing what he did, I thought was fantastic. I got a buzz out of that when I was a little
adult.
kid.
As an adult, what a wanker!
I think this is if this wins the poll, I think this is something that we can really deep dive into and look at the politics behind what went on and so on. Because apparently on the day, some people claim on the day Yokozuna was just going to leave with the title. They changed this very late, and all sorts of that. We can dive into all that sort of stuff if this wins the poll. I think the matches itself sound, but I think the things that went on behind the scenes are also going to be a good topic of conversation, lads.
Absolutely.
You didn't pick up on that, did you? I said a good topic of conversation is what I just said.
Well, you slurring your words, sir. What is in that glass?
It's squash, mate. It's squash. It's like it's the new orange Vimto. It's lovely. Maybe I made it too sweet and I got a bit of sugar buzz. I don't know. Anyway, going up against the matches, the sort of the 2 matches that close WrestleMania 9, I'm going to stick with Bret Hart as well, mate, because I just marveled at watching the guy wrestle. Obviously, Scott Hall did his part as well. Of course he did. But how great Bret was in this match, I want to see more. So I thought, okay, we've got Bret here versus Scott Hall, and it's a great match. Let's look at Bret with the other outsider. And I'm thinking we can jump to Survivor Series 1995. It's a no disqualification match between Bret Hart and Diesel for the WWF World Heavyweight Championship. And it's been called the best match of Diesel's world title reign and all this sort of stuff. Not as much politics behind the scenes to look at.
Better than Diesel versus Mabel? I don't think so.
Hey, they weren't my words, my friend. They weren't my words. But yeah, there we go. Those are the options. We have Bret Hart versus Yokozuna, and then obviously Yokozuna versus Hogan from WrestleMania 9 and all the politics and backstage nonsense there. Or we have the no DQ match between Bret Hart and Diesel from Survivor Series 1995. Okay, those are your options. The poll will be up in the week after the audio podcast version comes out, probably Wednesday, Thursday time. The poll will be up on our Twitter at @chain_wrestling there. Magsy, I suppose all that's left now, mate, is for us to let everyone know whereabouts they can find you, my friend.
Yeah, absolutely. Before I get to that, though, I want to kind of go over what I said at the beginning of the show. You guys have been absolutely amazing in what's been a tough week for me and the Magsy clan. The fact that you all were there for me. You all took the reins when I couldn't be on many of the many podcasts that I'm on, and for everyone who reached out and kind of checked in on me, I massively appreciate you. Massively appreciate all you in the CWF as well. You guys are super, bringing it every single episode. As we say every time,
we're very lucky, Maxie. I think we're very fortunate.
This show wouldn't be the show it is if it wasn't for you guys, and we genuinely mean that every week. You make this show way better than it has any right to be, so we will always massively appreciate you for that. In terms of social media, down here you can sometimes find me. You probably find me hanging around on the old TikTok now because I'm getting a little bit addicted to that site. But in terms of content, I'm back at it now with both barrels, changing attitude over on the chair shot, 5 rounds, Badlands, the football watch-alongs here on Radio Techers, even dipping our toe into the Formula One this past weekend, which is something that I really enjoyed, and hopefully we'll be doing that a lot over the coming weeks. We're also doing, I think, a watch-along of WrestleMania this weekend.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up, Magsy, actually, and if you could let everyone know a little bit about that. So there's various different people doing different nights for Radio Techers, aren't there, covering WrestleMania weekend and so on.
So essentially, this is Matt Willis's baby. He's heading the coverage, but over the 2 nights of WrestleMania and NXT and things like that, we'll be doing live watch-alongs. And you know how a watch-along goes with the Techers team. It doesn't necessarily revolve around the subject that we're meant to be revolving around. So there'll be plenty of shenanigans there. So I'll definitely check that out. But other than that, yeah, we're slowly getting back to the norm, so expect plenty of content coming your way.
Awesome stuff, mate. Awesome stuff. And it's at Podfathermags on Twitter.
I didn't say that, did I?
You didn't actually say it. So you just pointed at it.
Down here, and on TikTok, at MagsAllPods. I've tried to change it, but they won't let me for some reason. I don't know why. Oh, okay. There we go.
Because you've got too many followers now, mate. You're too much of a big deal to be messing around with your name, mate. Yeah, there you go. 3.5K in 3 weeks. Why? There is a TikTok for the show as well. It's just not.
And I keep telling you, we eventually we are going to be going live, hopefully on TikTok once we work out the logistics of it. But we will get there. We're not technologically minded. Well, one of us isn't.
No. Don't be so harsh on yourself, mate.
One of us can't operate a broom.
Oh, dear. You can find me on Twitter at SJP Words, and the group you'll be looking for on Facebook is SJP All the Shows and Info. Both of those are just full of the links to anything I'm involved in, really. We have Nitro Nights with Scottish Danny, looking back at WCW week by week, show by show. Loving that. Had some great feedback this week as well. People are DMing the show and tweeting saying how much they're enjoying it. So really appreciate that.
Good. It really is so good. It's a brilliantly unique concept to go back 25 years and
it is, mate. I wonder what inspired
that. No, I really enjoy it. Danny as well in the chat. How he's taken to podcasting so well.
It's amazing.
It's amazing.
It's brilliant.
Yeah, he's really good.
Yeah,
really good. I love being able to listen to him and also to be able to create content with him. Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it definitely. Well done, Scottish Danny. Awesome stuff. The Doctor Who pod that I do with Dan Griffin, and
again, I'm going to jump in. I love this show. This is another great concept. The banter between you and Dan Griffin, superb, and the way that you're focusing on different aspects of Doctor Who as well, like going from old Doctor to new Doctor. Yeah, I love it. As someone who has dipped into the Doctor Who world and kind of like dipped out at times, it's good to be able to like watch along with you and kind of like follow the story. So yeah.
Thank you very much, mate. I really appreciate that. It's going to be interesting as we come to the end of season 1 because I've never seen the Doctor Who movie, and that's the episode. That's the thing that we're covering for the last episode. And I know Dan is proper giddy excited about getting me to watch this, you know. Dan also mentions it's great when I can find my notes. Yeah, if you listen to last week's and you listen to this week's, which comes out tomorrow, bit of a tale there about me losing my notes and we had to reschedule things. I'm amazed that Magsy hasn't mocked me for still using paper and pen, which, by the way, I'm still doing today. So, you know.
I mean, you can lead a horse to water, but you cannot make him drink.
No, there we go. The Waiting Room podcast as well that we do with Benny Mac. Season 2 is current.
Jesus,
Season 2, you're gonna make me blush, mate. Season 2 is being recorded as well, not as we speak because I'm here. But this week we're working on some more of it. There's episodes getting all put into the bank, ready for a release very, very soon. Really excited about that. But most importantly, you can find this show on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, that TikTok thingamy at @chain_wrestling. Links to everything else via me at SJP Words, but this is at @chain_wrestling. Thank you so much to everybody for joining us again tonight. Thank you so much for everybody's comments in the chat, the brilliant interactions we've had on Twitter, the brilliant Scholl Days stories. Keep your eyes out for next week's non-wrestling topic. It's just a fun, brilliant time on a Monday night. I adore it. Hopefully, we will have people joining.
I genuinely missed it last week.
Yeah. Oh, that's nice to hear, mate. That's nice to hear.
Not you.
Not
CWF.
well, yeah, you said, not me. That's fair enough. Hopefully, there will be people jumping on and joining you and the rest of the fellas for the WrestleMania watch-alongs this weekend, Magsy. And all that aside, I guess I'm off now to try and track down my old English teacher on Instagram just to check in with how she's aged, just to have a little look. Okay, Mags, I'll see you next week, my friend.
I mean, I forgot to even put the music on. That's how how out of touch I am. But yes, we'll see you all next week, people. Bye-bye.